One second. Okay. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on when you are. Danny Beit-Or here. We do this session every week on Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 11 Pacific time. I do it in English because it's open to the public and we have different language speakers joining us. I know that a lot of people here speak Hebrew, but that's how we go about it. Every week, I try to bring a topic related to real estate investing, of course, and talk about it. This week, I decided to actually not bring a topic in, but make it more of a open discussion, Q&A, something that you can bring up to the table and discuss about. So by all means, before I do any additional talking, let's see. I want to get your questions. So the whole point of today is actually to get your questions on real estate investing. So let's see. Do you have any questions regarding rentals, flips, locally, out of state, concerns, fears, anything that can help you with investing? How can I help you? Challenges. You guys lead the way. I'm gonna wait for your questions in order to respond. I did not prepare a topic, this time. If there are no questions, we will have to call it quits early today. So I'll wait here. I want to take your questions. We don't have to if there are none. If you're all set. Let me ask you if anyone can respond. Are you investing? Are you considering investing? Where are you with the invest? Okay, what regions have you had the best luck in for rentals or flips? Wow, that's a good question. Thank you, Amanda. I think for the rentals, thank you for breaking the ice. I think for the rentals, I cannot think of an area it wasn't successful. Everything I would say was successful. So the type of rentals we do, we buy nice houses in nice areas. We're not buying, older homes. We are not investing in older homes in economically weak areas. We target the lower middle class, middle class, upper middle class, growing metros, jobs and population, the people who work and have a job, typically, a husband and wife both work, have a job, and they can afford to rent. So that kind of creates a situation when you hold long term, you will have minimal noise. You will have noise. There's always noise coming from ownership, but that actually creates a niche where you have minimal noise in terms of ownership. So yes, do we have issues with tenants not paying? That happens. That's not a very common thing, but it does happen in this segment of the market. Do we have evictions? Absolutely, that happens too. But again, that's a very small percentage of the number of houses. Most of the people that we work with, they pay, they have jobs, they are able to meet their financial obligations towards us, towards the property. So I would say for the most part, over the 15 years, the only times that was a little bit of a challenge was during about 10 decades ago, during the last downturn, very big downturn. A lot of investors were nervous because they saw their house that they purchased for 100 and 200,000 or 175,000. Somewhere between 2004, 5, 6, even 7, going all the way down in some of the areas to maybe 90,000 or 100,000. That's not a pleasant feeling for sure. But around the same time, if you didn't get nervous and bailed out, so to speak, then you didn't there's no problem. You just hang on to it, and that property went all the way back to what you purchased and probably even past that point. I can tell you that from first-hand experience. Some markets got to that price point and exceeded it faster, some slower. I think for the most part, all the markets, past that price point, that people paid for it. I can't say for sure, but most likely. And during that time, also the rents went up and the vacancies went down. So if you were an investor getting nervous about this, in 2008, 9, 10, concerned about your property value, regardless the market you purchased in, that was not a pleasant time. But it over the long term, it proved to be okay. You just have to hang on. So for the rental market, just because we do a lot of targeting good growing good growing metros around the country with job growth and population growth, and we are planning to hold it for 5, 10, 15 years, maybe more. That actually, in a way, is a mechanism to mitigate towards risk. Just buy quality property, quality area, quality metro, hang on for long term. You're actually gonna minimize a lot of the noise that comes with it. So it will be a relatively a safer way to go about it. So that's rentals. Flips is a little bit different. Over the years, we've been very successful in some areas. I think the success of a flip is not an area based; is more of a property based. I have had amazing flips that we've done. That with one team in one area that were really everything according to the plan, and the same team in the same area. I've had flips that didn't work that well. I mean, maybe they're just smaller profit than expected, maybe more unknown. So it's hard to say. It's hard to kind of differentiate. Flips is a very much based on the market, based on the property, and based on the team. Absolutely, very, very, very important component. But it's not something that you can say, oh, I have a very strong market, a very strong team, and the flip is still going to be guaranteed successful. Not at all. There's no guarantees because every house has its own issues and problems, and you can never really tell in advance what's going to happen. So it's harder to say, to pinpoint the flips. The flips is much more challenging. I can say that the bigger the flip is in terms of the renovation, which means a bigger renovation, which takes longer, that for me tells me there are more unknowns, the longer it takes and the bigger the project, the more unknowns there are, the greater the risk. So a small flip with a smaller renovation budget would probably have it's a smaller risk, no doubt, versus a one that takes a bigger and more components and more people involved. The more components and the more people involved, the bigger the risk there is. I know there's opening for financing for rentals, but can you explain the different ways we can finance flips? Well, flips, I would say Eli, good to see you. Thank you for joining. On the flips, I would say we go in 2-3 main ways to finance. Mainly cash, that's most of the flips, so all cash going in. Hard money loans, that's another one. And then we also have partnering with a hedge fund sometimes. And the hedge funds, the way they work is they come in and they fund 85% of the project, and we bring 15%. So that's how we go about it. And they get a preferred return of 7% paid when the property is sold. So it's not like in a monthly payment or an interest payment. They get on their funds, they get a preferred return of 7%, and then we do a profit sharing with them. We also get a preferred return, but when we sell the property, first of all, they get paid 7% on their funds, then they get their initial investment. There's like an order of distribution. Then we get the 7% on the amount that we brought in, and then we get the initial investment. And after all of that, then we split the profit with the hedge fund, 50% to them, 50% to us, and we still do something. If the investor is involved, we do something with the investors as well on the profit sharing. So mainly on flips, cash, and cash can be one investor all in cash, multiple investors on the deal, cash, one investor hard money loan, multiple investors with hard money loan, and the hedge fund. If we do the hedge fund, it's going to be one investor because it's a relatively smaller amount, not multiple investors. So those are cash, hard money, and hedge fund partnership with a hedge fund. There's obviously more to it, but I'm just giving you the nutshell for your question. Good question. Yeah, are there additional questions? I'll wait for another minute or so and see if there's additional questions. Doesn't have to be, follow up. It could be follow up on the questions asked. Could be on something else. Thank you, Amanda, for the questions. Good questions. I appreciate it. Hi, Tal. Good to see you. Okay, very good. Short and simple. I want to wish everyone happy weekend, good long weekend. Enjoy your holiday. Shabbat shalom for those of you who speak Hebrew. Thank you very much for everything, for taking the time, and not for everything, for taking the time. You know how to get in touch with us if you want some more specifics, specific information. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you next Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, for another topic, another session, hopefully to get your questions as well. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye. Shabbat shalom.